Hey guys, I'm Doctor McFarland, and in this video we're going to look at how to deal with some of the limitations on the Fractal FM3, and that means learning how to get a good clean sound without necessarily using an amp and a cab. So let's dive in. So as you can see here in front of me, I have the Fractal FM3 with the camera overhead. I am intentionally not using the FM edit because I don't want to rely on a computer all the time just to make basic tweaks on a unit. And honestly, it's not that hard to use any Fractal unit anyway. You just have to read a little bit of the manual, get used to where the buttons are and what they do, and you'll be off to the races. First of all, you can see I'm on the home page, and I'm going to press enter to go into our layout. Now we have a grid that is not as big as the FM9 or the Axe-Fx 3, but we have plenty of space to work with. And I think for this video, I'm just going to have a few blocks and show you what I can do with this. So on the first block, we're going to turn the value knob till we get to input 1, then press enter. And then we're going to press and hold enter till we have shunts all the way through. Then at the very end, we can set our output. I am using both XLR outputs going into my interface and recording into Ardour 7, but this could be any audio interface or DAW that you choose to capture audio with. Right now it's pretty much zoomed in. We want to press the zoom button on the A encoder so we can see the full length of the signal chain. And we have our output meters across the top, and we have everything that we need to start making a clean patch. Now, if you didn't have an input or an output block or any shunts or any cables, you wouldn't have any sound coming out of your Fractal unit. So you pretty much have to have an input and an output block at all times and connect everything with cables and shunts in between, whether that's only 4 blocks across or going all the way across like you see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And this is a 4x12 diagram. So with the way you can do parallel processing and have blocks up or below the main line, there's a lot of versatility here that you may not be used to if you're using a different unit like the Kemper or a Helix, Quad Cortex, or even the ToneMaster Pro. So this is the sound we have with 0 amps and cabs in the signal chain. Okay, and you can also see that I'm pretty much diming my outputs right now. So it's coming out pretty hot and I don't want it to be that loud. So I could go to my output and press edit and then maybe go to the main level and just turn that down, let's say by 6 dB. And then go to exit and now check our levels. Okay, still pretty hot, so let's bring it down even more. Let's try 12 dB. Now what I would normally do at this point is maybe add some EQ because I can hear there's a lot of mid-range going on. So let's go to a center block down here and let's put in a filter. So once you've chosen the block that you wanted, you need to press enter. Then we can press edit to go into our filter type. So we don't have a lot of options here, but we can do a high cut and a low cut. And we can choose a middle frequency that we want to scoop out. So let's first of all, let's go down to our, we can use our navigation buttons up and down to make sure our A through E encoders are highlighted on the right parameter that we want to adjust. So D is set to low cut. So I'm going to turn this. You can see that we have a low cut starting to happen. Let's make it around 100 Hertz. And then our high cut, which is going to be on E, we can make it about 6 to 5K. Let's just start with 6 for now, around in that range. How about that? So we've taken those filters and we've shaped the outside frequencies to really roll those off and really just deal with the mid-range. All right, with our encoders all the way up, we want to change the type to be either a low pass, band pass, high pass, low shelf, high shelf, or peaking. We're going to choose peaking in this situation and go down to our gain encoder, which is on E, and just start bringing it down. Let's do a good healthy scoop of maybe 6 dB. Okay, we can go to the mix page and we can actually bypass this. Okay, so it's still not that sparkly, fendery clean that we're all used to, but it is a way better than just a normal, flat, dull sounding, you know, not a whole lot going on with it. So we can go back and let's just sit with this filter for now. And what I've discovered recently is we can actually use a drive block. So we're going to bring in drive 1 right before the filter. And we can experiment with this, putting it after the filter as well. But let's just go into our drive block. And I have messed around recently with the BB preamp. Now, it does have preamp in the name. And for any amp to actually work, you need some kind of preamp sound. You also need a power amp and you also need a speaker. But in this case, we're going to utilize the BB preamp as part of our preamp sound, and maybe it'll give us a little bit more definition and some more things to tweak and control with our sound. So we do have the type here. We can also go to basic, where we can adjust the gain, bass, middle, and treble. We have an EQ1 where we can adjust even more frequency ranges. And we also have EQ2, which is more of like a graphic EQ after our processing. And then we have the mix level, and we have advanced, where we can go in and change diodes and weird stuff like that. So now let's see what we have with all stock settings on this drive pedal. Okay, still not that inspiring, but let's bring down the gain, because I don't want all that gain in there. I want more volume than anything. And let's listen to it again. We can go back and look at our outputs. I'm really focused on where this output is going from blue to red. And there's that hard line right there at 0. And that's a good range to work toward. Let's go back into our drive and let's bring up the treble and maybe bring down the bass. And I'm going to bring the gain all the way down. And then boost it back up a little bit. Now, so far I've been on the bridge pickup of my Kiesel A2. Let's move it on to the neck pickup and see if this smooths anything out. Okay, maybe bring the treble up a little bit more. Okay, now you can see that this treble is also mimicking the treble on the first page. So we can go in and we can adjust even more mid-range frequencies. Let's see what happens here. Let's cut this mid. Okay, not too bad. Let's go to the graphic EQ. And we can adjust even more things now. Let's go over and using our left and right navigations, we can move where our A to E encoders are going to adjust. Let's add a little 4K in here, get some brightness going. And we're going to lower 1K. And honestly, I feel like the graphic EQ is doing the most work as far as EQ goes. So for fun, let's go ahead and let's bypass this filter block and see what we have just with the drive. Let's bypass the drive block. Okay, bring in the drive. Okay, let's go back to our filter and let's actually change this from peaking to high shelf. Let's see what that does. We're going to raise this up here. Okay, I've actually changed this to a tilt EQ, and I just raised the frequency all the way back up for the high frequency. And this gives us a little bit more clarity in the top end, a little bit more sparkle. Okay, and maybe we go back to our drive block, and we really work on bringing down maybe some more mid-range in this area. Okay, so that's pretty good so far. I think we now need to add a compressor. So let's go to an empty block, turn our value knob until we get to compressor 1. And this is going to help us smooth out any peaks we get on our output. Okay, go into Edit, and Studio FF compressor is fine. And let's raise the threshold a little bit so we're not compressing as much. We have a little block diagram down here letting us see how much compression we have. You also have a gain reduction meter down here as well. Okay, that sounds fine. Now we can't live without a little bit of reverb. So let's go to a reverb block. Press enter. Always press enter after you change your block type. Otherwise it won't remember it and you'll be messed up again. So ask me how I know that. I've done it too many times. Let's go to a simple deluxe spring reverb and let's just see what happens here. Okay, I think it sounds just fine. Let's bring the mix down a little bit. Very cool. So we basically went from a very, very dry sounding, bland, cleanish sound. It's kind of like your guitar plugging straight into an interface, which is kind of the sound that we're getting. And then just using some filters and some EQ and a little bit of gain to kind of liven it up a little bit. Let's go back to our drive knob actually and go into Edit. And let's see if we raise the gain a little bit more what we got. So it adds just a little bit of grit and just a little bit of presence going on. So okay, we can also maybe roll up some bass. See what happens if we do this on the graphic EQ here. All right, very good. So we have made a clean sound now. Now the next step, if we actually want to rock, is have a dirty sound, but we can't have 2 amp blocks on the FM3. We're only limited to 1. So that's why I've shown you how to make a clean sound with no amper cab, and then we can add an amper cab later. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back a block, and we're going to press enter. You can see that it starts blinking. We're going to press the down navigation arrow and press enter again. This is going to give us a second row to work with. And now I'm going to press enter and hold. And I made 3 more blocks, and then I can press enter again, go up, and press enter. So now I've connected a row of shunts below our initial line. This is going to help us add an amp, cab, and maybe another drive block. So let's go in the middle, and we're going to turn this till we get to amp, press enter, go over, turn it till we get to cab, press enter, and just for fun, we're going to add another drive block down here as well. So drive 2 on the bottom. Now, in order to switch between these 2 rows, we need the multiplexer block. So now we're going to go to this last block connected to the cab and add in our multiplexer and press enter. So channel A is going to be row 1. And then channel B, I can get to channel B by pushing this channel plus button right here. Channel B is going to be row number 2. Let's go ahead and store this, just in case I act stupid and mess something up. So now what's going to happen is, let me go to our master layout, then to scenes. I'm going to switch this via scenes, by the way. So scene 1 is going to be channel A on the multiplexer, and then going back and then pressing scene 2. We're going to go back to the edit and press channel B. That's going to be row 2. Let's go ahead and store that as well. Press enter to go back to your layout screen. And now we can switch back and forth between our drive and our clean sound. So here's scene 1 with our clean. And then scene 2 with our dirty. I have not dialed in my dirty sound yet, so let's go ahead and do that. And let's first just pick the cab, because the cab is very important. We'll go with the dyne cab and then press the page right button. And this will get us to where we can choose which cab that we want. Let's go with a 2x12 Chiefman. That should be fine. And then going over to our amp. I really like these FAS amps here lately. So we're going to use the buttery sound. And then go over to tone and let's dial it in. And it's a little low in volume. So what we can do is actually go back to our main page and use the amp lock level. Let's actually turn off our drive pedal here. Okay, not too bad. Let's bring it up a little bit more. Okay, and this is just dialing in a sound that you like. You can make this be whatever you want. Let's go back to our amp one more time, and let's just adjust some frequencies here. Let's bring up the treble, bring down the bass, and here we go. Okay, go ahead and store, enter. Press enter again to go back to our layout, and here is scene 1, one more time. Let's go ahead and turn off the drive pedal on that. All right, here we go. And on the bridge pickup now. All right, guys, so that is the basics of figuring out how to make a clean tone on the FM3, because you are limited to 1 amp block, and we don't have the ability to have gapless switching like the Axe-Fx unit does right now. So hopefully, very, very soon, we will have gapless switching on the FM9 and FM3, but until then, there's some workarounds you kind of have to do to get this figured out. And if you only want to use 1 amp, so in a previous video, I showed you how to use sing controllers and modifiers. So if you want to dive deeper into using 1 amp block, but getting multiple sounds, go ahead and watch that video. But until next time, I am Dr. McFarland. I will see you in the next video. Keep rocking.